Urban Meyer, who is just the most moral guy you could imagine. He's a fella that is misunderstood. And if every coach was just like him, they'd be like priests. They'd be incredible, fantastic people. What did he have to say about the NIL arms race? As I can only carry my sarcasm so far. Urban Meyer is going to get quoted because he's a name, but do I need him telling me about the morality of NIL? No, I do not. What did he have to say, the former Florida, Ohio State national championship coach?
Well, he was on the podcast with another man of incredible integrity who's not just one of the most annoying human beings of all time. And I'm obviously talking about Lou Holtz, who we all should aspire to sound like. So he said he's for NIL. Here's his exact quote. If you're a woman basketball player, like that great girl from Iowa, like almost like a former woman, that great girl from Iowa.
You ask the girl.
Yeah. So, and he said, and they want to put her on a billboard and pay her, they should be able to do that. So he did come out in favor of NIL, but then he said, but that's not what happened. What happened is the arms race of collecting money from donors, and the donors are simply paying players. That's what I understand is happening. And I don't like that. Oh, I don't like that. As a man, Urban Meyer is such a man of integrity. He's almost got as much integrity, Dave, as Joe Paterno, who always said, we win with honor. Remember that?
Yes.
Joe Paterno won with honor.
Yes. And hit the like and subscribe button. Do that right now. Does he have a point at all?
No. I've been arguing against this thing. I've been arguing against this the whole time. The idea, and this is the debate we had last week, and I wrote a column on, guys, I encourage you guys to check it out, that Danny White is so ahead of the curve on this. The idea that if you want to say that there should be guardrails in NIL, fine, but the idea that it shouldn't be a piece of the puzzle for a recruit looking to go to a school, when every one of us in every walk of life, if money was on the table, we'd want to know that that would be a factor in our decision of whatever we did. The idea that shouldn't exist for college is ridiculous. It's insane. And Urban Meyer, first of all, you want to talk about an arms race? You don't think Urban Meyer had an arms race going when he basically said, come to Florida because I'll let you get away with basically murder and maybe literally and you'll be able to play and I won't care? You don't think that helped him in recruiting? You don't think that helped him at Ohio State? I mean, this is a guy who literally said, I will let you do whatever you want. Harm whoever you want. I don't care. You can play for me. You can work for me if you're a serial wife beater. Okay? Which he did do. So for Urban Meyer to sit up here and provide moral clarity to something when this guy, do I need to go down the list of players that were threatening girlfriends, trying to blind opponents on the field, or killing people, or turned out to be a raging racist, and that was like the least objectionable one of all of them? I mean, and then he employed a wife beater on Ohio State. I mean, are we really going to sit there and listen to this guy say he's worried about the NIL arms race, which is, there's nothing, again, as if there's something wrong with asking for money. Did Urban Meyer not ask for money when did he not negotiate when he was getting hired at different places? Was money not a factor for him?
Caleb, hate to tell you, but
that's crazy.
And you're going to think what I say is,
that's crazy.
Okay. He's right. Urban Meyer was right. He said, quote, if Lou Holtz or Urban Meyer or Marvin Harrison or CJ Stroud, those are Ohio State players, they want to use their name and help sell cars, help a business. Oh my goodness, my computer jumped. That's great, Meyer said. But to have a 17-year-old demand money for a visit, to pay these players a lot of money to go visit a charity for 20 minutes, and they write you a check for $50,000, that's cheating. That's not what it's all about. I'm very disappointed in where it went. He's right on the front half of that. A 17-year-old demanding a visit would be a major red flag if I'm Josh Heupel. That's a guy who just wants to make his college money, and then he's going to assume he's made it. Well, that's not a hard worker. These visit fees that are cropping up, and that's going to be a new recruiting term, are being asked for across the board. I'm telling you, if somebody asks for a visit fee or mandated that he get a visit fee to come to your campus, I'm like, no, we're going to go in another direction. So I think you're being too hard on Urban Meyer.
But okay, do I need to attack Urban Meyer more, or do I need to first dispute the merit of what you're saying?
How about the merit of what I'm saying?
Here's why you're theoretically, yes, they could demand visit fees. Theoretically, Dave, when I started to work for you, I could have demanded a golden toilet. That didn't mean you were going to give it to me. Okay. So, I mean, it's, I could have demanded 5 hookers, and I meant actual ones, not ones with the last name. Okay. That didn't mean you were going to give it to me.
I can come up with 5 if it's the last name. Yeah, I can do that.
That didn't mean you were going to give it to me. This is capitalism. Just because a player can demand it doesn't mean the schools are going to give it. And so the market, as you have talked about, is going to work itself out on how they apply NIL funds. And if they waste it all on visits, then they're screwing themselves over in that regard. So what? Schools are eventually going to figure out the best way to use their NIL funds, and they're going to have disagreements over how to use them. And then players will be able to negotiate within that realm. That's the market working itself out. So for Urban Meyer to be upset about this is absolutely ridiculous because, again, if a player is getting $50,000 to just visit a school as a 17-year-old, yeah, they may get that money. That school's going to be the one that is in trouble, though. And the schools that don't do that will be the schools that work out long-term. That's how the market works. Okay, so I don't really have a problem with that. We're just in the early stages of NIL, so schools are still trying to work out how they're going to spend this money. And for Urban Meyer to say that, I mean, gosh, when he said, I'm disappointed in where it went, does he really care about the long-term integrity of college football? This guy?
You know what's something that's crazy? I think he cares more about the long-term health of college football than maybe you do. I think that is his faith focus, for lack of a better term. I don't want to say his religion because that's an insult to religion, but I do think he wants college football to be the best it can be. I also think he wants to win the best he can be, which makes this next statement pretty crazy. He said, quote, if you're a woman basketball player like the great girl from Iowa, you reference this, and they want to put her on a billboard and pay her, they should be able to do that. But that's not what happened. What's happened is the arms race of collecting money from donors, and donors are simply paying players. That's what I understand is happening. I don't like that. The second half of what he said is exactly what happened with Caitlin Clark. So he really isn't, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Also, there was no arms race for Caitlin Clark coming out of college or coming out of high school. I mean, she got the money.
But there could be one day if women's basketball started generating revenue, there could be, and there might even be now.
So what? Okay.
Right. I agree. I mean, but Caitlin Clark got that money because she was really good. And if he's at all learned, Urban Meyer is, he knows that now the trend of college football is that you do pay the players to stay as opposed to the high school prospects big money to come to your school. So he's not very in tune, which makes me wonder if he really is just about done with his career. I've always thought he would come back for the Texas job if things didn't work out with Steve Sarkisian, but he's a little out of touch here, isn't he?
Very out of touch. And that does give off a vibe that maybe he is. Although, I mean, again, coaches, we're seeing this everywhere where coaches complain about NIL and then they take a job and they know they need it, so they embrace it, and then they can get the players they need to get. Urban Meyer, here's the other part about this, and it's not just his character. Let's take the character and him being a liar and a sleazeball and being so hypocritical about this for all the things he allowed to be able to get recruits. Let's put that aside for a minute. Let's just talk about it on the field. It's a little hypocritical because when Urban Meyer took over at Florida, say whatever you want about him, Dave, Ron Zook left him a couple of loaded recruiting classes, didn't he?
Loaded. Very good recruiter, Ron Zook, no question.
Yes. And there were a lot of conversations about people being skeptical of how Ron Zook landed a lot of those recruits, weren't there?
Yes.
So I'm just saying, are we to believe that Urban Meyer didn't inherit a ton of talent based on an arms race that was happening at Florida under the table at that time, even if he wasn't a part of it?
Yeah, it's possible.
Which won him his 2 national championships as much as Tim Tebow. That's all I'm saying. So it's funny that he's worried about
but if he was paying people under the table, and we largely think that everybody was, then everybody was.
a lot of people felt Ron Zook went a lot further than a lot of other coaches.
Interesting.
He was at, you remember, he was at Illinois and got a top 10 class. That doesn't happen, Dave.
No, it's true. Rick Terry Jewelry Design. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry. How about the fire opals? That's right. A Tennessee tradition. RickTerryJewelry.com. RickTerryJewelry.com. They are fantastic. Is there anything out of what Urban Meyer said that you would say, that makes a lot of sense? Or do you just take everything he says with a grain of, I don't know, nausea?
Hearing him talk makes me want to vomit. Like just his existence. Like I'm okay. The funny part about that is Lou Holtz's existence makes me want to vomit too, because I just can't stand anybody. Like I can't stand anybody who fakes integrity talk that I don't think is actually altruistic about it. Like I actually think I think Nick Saban was always thinking about what's best for his program, but I think he is sort of altruistic about college football. Is that weird that I think that with Nick Saban? But not
no, but I kind of think that with Urban Meyer. I think that's their church. Now, I think Urban Meyer's morality gets in the way of making the church the best it could be. I think he says he wants the best things for college football, and then I think he does things to hurt it. So
I think if Urban Meyer wants something, I just by default want the opposite.
Right. Right. And that's fair. But if it were a religion, I think he's asking for a lot of forgiveness from time to time from the football gods. Is that a good way to put it?
That's fair. But it's just okay. So like, you know how people in politics can be so tribal, where if a president who is of the opposite party of them says something, they're like, I'm just going to disagree with that no matter what, because I have to disagree with this president no matter what, whoever the president is, whatever party they're with. I'm kind of that way with Urban Meyer. I'll admit it. I'm like, if Urban Meyer came out tomorrow and said that, like, I don't know, if Urban Meyer said the most like benign thing in tomorrow, if he said that I think players should be protected on the field with proper helmets, I would probably reflexively be like, take the helmets off the players. Just because I just kind of reflexively despise the man and everything about him. And I, by the way, like I said, I felt that way about Joe Paterno too before everything broke up, because I thought Joe Paterno was the biggest fraud in the history of the sport. He just kind of gave off that vibe. And
Well, I don't know. Not in person. I didn't think so.